not a single church with its windows broken. The Egyptian museum has been attacked by government forces. But that's a rather notable thing. Another thing is that some of the pictures that some of the prominent people in this uprising are constantly sent to people like me are the pictures of some Egyptian sheikh holding hands with a Coptic, and this harkens back, by the way, to a tradition in 1919. This was that image of the Egyptian clergy holding hands with the Coptic priest marching side by side, and they're trying to recreate this image. Success can make people feel good and can make them feel very charitable. What I fear is that failure will make them blame each other and start being petty and uncharitable. I think Copts and just Egyptians both have suffered under Mubarak's regime tremendously, and they share that legacy of suffering in a common narrative. So,
before we close, Professor Fadl, I want to give you an opportunity to elaborate on a point that's emerged clearly in your lecture, which is that this is a question of institutions and regime and not only one individual. In light of emerging reports that perhaps some exit strategy will be negotiated for Mubarak, leaving Omar Suleiman and others in charge of the regime, so in other words, retiring the octogenarian to replace him with his septuagenarians, but essentially retain the entire institutional structure in place, what would that represent?
That will be... I mean, of course, I think if the leaders of this uprising fall for this, they've committed suicide. I mean, then at that point I stop following the news and say, okay, it's over. Game over. Suleiman is not... Egyptians will often are proud of Suleiman because of his military record, that he's a war hero and stuff like that. But also Suleiman has been very much a part of Mubarak military regime. It's true that he was primarily involved in the foreign front, so he's been often the liaison with the Pentagon and the liaison with the Israeli government, and the one who goes and meets Fatah and meets Hamas and so on and so forth. But Suleiman has been in the very fabric of the institutional habits, various ethos that have guided this regime. I mean, some Egyptians won't like hearing this, but Suleiman not only knows about quite a bit of corruption, but there is, at least from human rights organizations, we have numerous reports of his involvement in brutality, torture, even reports of him facilitating drug trade. So I know that the United States is, at least the envoy that met with Mubarak right before his rather infamous speech, is that, well, maybe Suleiman can... The other thing is the parasitical business class, that the 3% that control 60% of Egypt's GNP, are not... They can very easily and very quickly change, instead of kissing up and praising and greasing Mubarak and his son, in a matter of overnight, they'll be greasing, praising Suleiman for the same exact dynamics. And they've already, done some of that, because some of them have already involved him in some serious business ventures that are underhanded. So no, it's not just Mubarak, and it's not just Mubarak's son, and it's not just Sulaiman, but it is a whole set of individuals that had created a vested interest in stealing lands and selling it for, in return for, of course, a bribe, selling it practically for free, taking nuclear waste from Germany and burying it in the desert illegally, and then you have all these tribes that their cattle and then them start dying off because this nuclear waste didn't meet any proper standards, importing Marlboro cigarettes that have not met manufacturing standards in the United States. Well, they get imported to Egypt. You're literally each cigarette is like smoking a whole pack. I mean, we're talking about, and yet they're pharmaceutical companies that sell, redate and sell a lot of expired from all over the world because of key individuals who control this business, and they have these contracts with various pharmaceutical companies in different places. Give us your expired medicines, and we just slap a new date on them and sell them. And so it's a clique. The good news is that we're not talking about 1 million people. We are talking about a clique of people who control a great deal of the business, people who you cannot open a business in Egypt without entering into an agreement to pay 50% of your profits to. And that's, something, a corporate secret that not too many business people will like to chat and talk about in public because it's illegal, among other things. But everyone knows that it's done, and everyone knows that we do it. So, no, I hope they will insist and persist in these people want to live on the banks of the Nile and fish and enjoy the sun and so on, as long as they haven't tortured or murdered someone, which then they should be held responsible for, fine. But stay in power and stay controlling decision-making aspects of the country, then all of this has been for nothing. And I can assure you the world will be confronted with massive rates of Egyptians who are severely depressed, and then the rates of Egyptians who commit suicide will be extremely high. I'm kidding, I don't know if they will, but I tell you, I mean, it often feels that death would be much better than things going back to the way they were.
Well, I suspect I captured the spirit of the audience in, first of all, identifying the aspirations of the Egyptians like yourself that are struggling for freedom and democracy at this point. And I think we all hope that the U.S. government shares that aspiration with them and will support it. But also, I think the entire audience would like to thank you very much.